In our last video, we returned back to Spy after 4 months away for work.
We're back!
She's still here. And found a nasty surprise.
That was a mistake. The good thing is it was too dry to grow mold all over everything.
That's true. I can already feel my sinuses going crazy. A few years ago, we had a really bad mold problem in Washington, and I got a sinus polyp, and it was a big medical just fiasco. And so I have really bad allergies to mold, and I get really stressed out about mold. So I'm a little bit bummed right now.
After spending the night in the musty boat, Allie woke up the next day with a pounding headache. Not wanting to risk her getting sick, we decided to rent an Airbnb and air out the boat for a few days. This gave her time to work on videos and gave me time to tackle a big, dirty project.
So the mission today is to remove the ice box. We had our fridge set up in the quarter berth over here. We're gonna move it over to where the ice box is. One reason is it will make it safer, because at the moment we have our life raft stuffed into the far back of the quarter berth where it's completely inaccessible. We could never get it out in an emergency. So if we put it where the ice box is, it'll be accessible when we need it. I'm gonna clean it out, rip out this wall. Behind this is a bunch of insulation. So I got all the nooks and crannies blocked off as best as possible with this black plastic. And now I'm going to start removing the paneling and the insulation. I'm just trying to keep the dust down in here. At this point, this is turning into a full-on demolition. It's a fortress of an ice box. Whoever built the boat did a beautiful job. Thank you for all your beautiful woodwork. You made it impossible to take apart though. Gotta keep pushing, trying to get done with this before dark so I'm not walking through the sketchy part of town in the dark. We booked an Airbnb for a few days. It's in kind of a rough neighborhood. At least we think. I mean, we don't really know. There's a couple of houses along the way that have some strange characters hanging out outside. So we're just trying to be super careful. Don't be walking by in the dark, and yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna power through this and then grab some food and head home for Allie for dinner.
Every day, walking to and from the Airbnb, I had to cross a suspicious intersection. It had houses on either side with young men perched, chattering on radios, and openly dealing to passing cars and people on the street. A few blocks down, our Airbnb felt safe, however, as it was locked up well and had a security guard watching the building through the night.
Thank you. All right.
Puerto Peñasco is a wild little border town, with loud music and clubs full of American and Mexican tourists that seem hell-bent on having their way with the town and its offerings. But for us, it was something more of a purgatory, hot and dirty, a place we couldn't wait to escape.
Is that you? All right, so yesterday I got the ice locker pulled out, all the insulation pulled out. Today I got a few putty knives, a scraper, these kinds of things. so that I can clean up all the insulation off the wood. I'm hoping not to have to sand very much because I want to keep the dust down in the boat.
Quickly realizing that the putty knife was not the right tool for the job, I was lucky when a neighbor boat had a better scraper to lend me. Now it was just a matter of time and sweat in the hot desert air.
So we got this insulating foam that we've been putting throughout the hull of the boat. It does a good job of protecting us from condensation against the hull, and also keeps the boat a little cooler. 1/2 inch, it's like a neoprene material, and it does a nice job. So I just spray on an adhesive glue to it and stick it to the hull of the boat. So that's what I'm doing now. The job is totally coming together. Alright, so I'm back at it today, cutting and shaping the floor for the fridge. I'm just trying to get it level and to fit. Hopefully we'll have this done by the end of the day. Getting out of the Airbnb, I'm going to pick up Allie in a couple hours.
To get this piece of plywood to fit, I marked a few points parallel to the curve of the hole, and then used this piece of aluminum to connect the dots. With only a jigsaw to make my cuts, it often meant lots of sanding and sculpting to get the pieces to fit. After some heavy durability testing, I spent the afternoon puzzling the pieces together for the top, bolted the refrigerator slider in place, and then wired the 12-volt plug kit that comes with the Dometic fridge. After moving out of our air-conditioned Airbnb, things for Spy's crew began escalating into a chaotic and messy state. Allie was beginning to feel sick from some food we had eaten the night before, though she puts on a happy face for the camera. We were both exhausted after a restless, hot, and sweaty night of sleep.
Is this what sailing's all about? This is day 6 in the boatyard, I think. Yep, day 6. I had 5 days to get this thing finished. That's what I told myself. It's almost finished. At least enough that we can go sailing. So I'm gonna try to patch up the rest of that this morning and then move on to the rest of the projects like cleaning, organizing.
Although we had other intentions for the day, Allie's food poisoning got much worse. So I divided the day between finishing the cabinet and taking care of her.
Day 7 in the boatyard. This is what life is like in a boatyard in the desert on a small boat. Here's where I sleep. It's about 90 degrees at night, just enough to get sweaty. And a dirty sheet. Allie sleeps out here.
It's very hot.
And she sweats out here.
And I got food poisoning yesterday, and I still feel pretty crappy.
This is the good life. I do think we're on the downhill side of this. The worst projects are done with. It is a good day though, because I got the locker finished, at least well enough that we can go sailing. So I'm gonna finish that up later with all the trim and whatever, make it prettier. So at this point, we can just get the boat put back together as best we can, get our things organized. I need to get all the running rigging back up today. start making it look like a boat. We only have 3 days left after today. We have to get everything organized, put away. We need to go get food and water for our trip. We need to do a bottom job. Won't be too much. We're just putting on 1 coat of ablative this year. And then we'll get in the water and go. Yes. I just have to figure out which line is which. Right. Let's see if that makes it.
Getting Spy's running rigging back up, the next few days went by in a delirium of frenzied work, spurred on by the sleepless hot nights and Spy's scheduled splash date, looming just ahead. Somehow, when the morning came to put Spy back in the water, we had her put back together. At least, well enough, we thought. It's always a glorious moment when you get put back in the water after a slog in the boatyard. After checking for leaks in the bilge and tightening things down, we were ready to go.
It's okay to start the engine? Okay. Ready?
Check for water coming out the back.
With everything looking good, we slowly motored out of the slings and past the concrete walls, only to have our engine die. Caught completely unprepared for this, we had a southerly breeze blowing us back onto the shore. Amazingly, without sails up, Spy was able to carry just enough momentum that we could guide her away from the concrete wall and nearly sail her into a slip at this nearby dock.
So that was the most exciting launch we've ever had. Everything was going very quickly. They wanted to get us off the lift pretty quick, so we didn't really get to fully test our engine before just shoving off. And long story short, our engine failed on us as we were headed out into the harbor here. And we were just scrambling, trying to get a boat hook, trying to get the engine to work. It wasn't working. The wind is blowing us into like a concrete wall. Everybody's watching. All our friends are watching from the dock. And luckily, thank God, our boat just got perfectly pushed into a slip. And we yelled for help. There's these guys on the dock who helped us. We threw them our lines. They saved the day. So we're just so thankful. We're just so lucky that it all happened the way it did. So we're tied up here right now. We're trying to figure out what's going on with the engine. The most exciting and stressful launch we've ever had.
So, trying to diagnose it. It looks like this filter housing is broken. It's leaked diesel into our water pump, our bilge pump. It caught all the diesel for us.
Though I had looked at the fuel separator many times before we were put back in the water, the diesel and the viewing bowl are a similar yellow color, and I did not notice it was empty. We soon realized that this water fuel separator was leaking from the drain plug at the bottom of the viewing bowl. Caused by a failed gasket with an odd shape, I didn't think I had a replacement on board. We were sitting on a private dock, and we needed to get off quickly, so I tried to get creative with a quick fix and seal it up using a screw and some O-rings.
I thought that I had this fixed with my gaskets and my little screw thing, but apparently there was another hole in the system. Right there is a little hole, and it gaps down in the middle. So the new plan is to try to use this O-ring.
After hours of frustration at what seemed like a simple patch, I dug deeper into our storage and found this. It just happened to contain the perfect gasket for the job. Unfortunately, by the time we got the engine running, the tide had gone out, leaving us stranded on the dock. Speaking with the elder man who owns the dock, with our broken Spanish and hand gestures, he was gracious in understanding our predicament and allowed us to stay for the night at no charge. Later that evening, an English-speaking security guard came down for a visit, and we got to learn the legend of the man who owns the docks and its boats. As it goes, he grew up poor without schooling in Puerto Peñasco when it was just a small fishing village. He was a tenacious and bright 13-year-old when he began crewing on fishing vessels, and by the time he was 19, he had made captain. He soon owned his own boat and then a fleet. After fishing and shrimping for decades, he then changed courses to the influx of tourism. Using their own hands, he and a partner built the Perla Negra. Fashioning it after an 18th century pirate ship, he now runs a successful business taking tourists out for fun-filled excursions on the sea, which he captains himself. Continuing with our own journey in Puerto Peñasco, we were off to the public docks with the tide the next morning. Borrowing a car from some Boatyard friends, we spent the day running around town provisioning with food and fuel for the long North Sea journey ahead.
Sweetwalker.
This is stocking up for a long time.
That's right. That's gonna last at least a day.
With Spy fully laden, we had one last piece of unfinished business to take care of. It had been 5 long months since we had last sailed Spy, and she was finally headed out to sea again. The forecast gave us 18 hours of calm weather before a heavy gale was expected to blow, but we didn't care. We were excited to be at sea. If conditions held and our motor continued to run, we would be able to make it to an anchorage 70 miles south to wait out the gale there. Otherwise, we would just have to ride it out at sea. It felt amazing to have the waves passing beneath Spy's hull once again. Hearing the bow wave bubbling and feeling the gentle splashes of the sea, Spy and crew were home again.
Thanks so much for watching, and if you liked this video, hit like and subscribe, and if you really appreciate what we're doing, please consider becoming a patron. See you all next time.